Now we will go through Van't Hoff theory of dilute solutions. Van't Hoff came forward with a result, and he stated that dilute solutions of non-electrolytes behave similarly to gases, right? Dilute solutions of non-electrolytes is important to mention, because if I mention their electrolyte, right, for example sodium chloride, that dissociate into ions, then we have Van't Hoff factor into picture, which we will be doing in future lecture. Dilute solutions of non-electrolytes is like sugar solution, right? Sugar solution, because sugar doesn't dissociate into ions in solution, right? So dilute solutions of non-electrolyte behave like gases, right? Or we can also say, or solute in solution behave like gases, right? So dilute solutions of non-electrolyte behave same as gases, or the solute particles that are there in the solution, they behave like gases. Now let's see in what sense it behaves like gases. We know that if this is a container, if this is a closed container and we have gas particles or gas molecules inside it, let's say any gas, the pressure of this gas inside the container is due to the bombardment of gas on the walls of the container, right? These gas molecules will collide with the walls of the container, or it bombard, right? The pressure of this gas is due to collision of gas molecules with the walls of the container, or due to the bombardment of gas molecules on the walls of this container, right? And we have studied in the previous video lecture that osmotic pressure of solutions is due to the bombardment of solute particles on the semi-permeable membrane, right? We have taken this example, and when we have studied about reverse osmosis and all, if this is a solution side, right, that contains solute particles, and this is your solvent side, right, and the net flow is in this direction from solvent to solution side, right? And when we increase the pressure, right, when we increase the pressure using this piston, the flow of this solvent molecules towards solution side stopped, right? And we said that pressure at which this process of osmosis stops is known as osmotic pressure, and the osmotic pressure is pressure exerted on this semi-permeable membrane, right? And this pressure is due to the solute particles that are there in the solution, now the solute particles that are in the solution will bombard on this or collide with the semi-permeable membrane and will generate a pressure, right? So in this way, these solutions behave same as gases, right? Pressure here is due to bombardment of gas molecules, here pressure is due to the bombardment of solute particles. So solute particles are behaving in a similar way like gases here, right? And now we know, we have done this in the previous classes, that gases gases obeys some gas laws like Boyle's law and Charles' law, right? Similarly, solutions, since solute particles behave like gases, so solutions also obey gas laws, right, like Boyle's law and Charles' law, right? So the laws in case of solutions, we call these laws as Van't Hoff, because Van't Hoff was the scientist who put forward this result that solute particles behave like gas particles or gas molecules. So the Boyle's law in case of solutions, we call it a Van't Hoff Boyle's law, or Van't Hoff Boyle's law, and Van't Hoff Charles' law, right? Gases also follow Charles' law. So Charles' law in case of solutions is known as Van't Hoff Charles' law, because this relation or this result was put forward by Van't Hoff, right? Now we know that as per Boyle's law, in case of gases, PV is equals to constant, right? And P upon T is equals to constant. This is your Boyle's law, and this is your Charles law, right? Now let's deduce the same relationship in case of solutions, right? So in case of solutions, we know that here we said that the pressure, right, on this semi-permeable membrane was due to the solute particles, right, in this solution. So the pressure, more is the solute particles, more would be the pressure that would exert on this semi-permeable membrane, right? I repeat, since the pressure on the semi-permeable membrane is due to the bombardment of solute particles in the solution, so more is the solute particles, or more is the solute particles, more is the osmotic pressure, right? Or more is the pressure that these solute particles exert on the semi-permeable membrane, right? And by saying more is the solute particles, we mean more is the concentration, right? More solute particles in the solution means concentration of the solution is high, right? So this pressure, right, varies directly with the concentration of solution, right? Osmotic pressure is directly proportional to the osmotic pressure. Osmotic pressure is directly proportional to the concentration of this solution, and concentration is nothing, it is the number of solute particles in the solution, right, which is exerting a pressure on this semi-permeable membrane due to the bombardment of these solute particles, right? And we know that osmotic pressure is shown using, osmotic pressure is denoted by pi, right? So we say that pi is directly proportional to concentration, right? And concentration, let's say the concentration of this solution, we have this solution, it's 1 mole of sugar, right? This solution contains 1 mole of sugar. So what would be the concentration? Concentration is equals to number of moles. Concentration is nothing but, concentration is moles, number of moles of solute dissolved in V liters of solution. Here number of moles is 1, volume of this solution is V, right? This is the concentration. So I can replace this C with 1 upon V, is directly proportional to 1 upon V, right? So if I replace this, right, pi V is directly proportional to R, right? So this is the one relation that we have got, right? Pi is equals to, you can write it this way, or if I just let's put, just remember this, we'll be using this, I can write here CR. This is the relation, right? So it has a concentration term and R is the solution constant. Just like we have gas constant in case of gas laws, here we have a solution constant. So this is your Van't Hoff Boyle's law, right? If you look at this and look at this, this is your constant, right? I'll just remove it. I'm sorry, I've removed its proportionality sign and replaced it with R constant, right? So pi V is equals to R. If you relate it, or if you compare it with this, it's same. Here just I've replaced P with pi in case of solution, so pi V is equals to R, which is constant, right? So here this is your Van't Hoff Boyle's law. Similarly, we have now Van't Hoff Charles law. Wendt of Charles law states that concentration remaining constant, the osmotic pressure of dilute solution is directly proportional to absolute temperature, right? Osmotic pressure is directly proportional to absolute temperature at constant concentration. Concentration remaining constant or same, osmotic pressure is directly proportional to absolute temperature, right? So if we compare the two, right, I can write it as pi is equals to 1 upon T constant. If I remove proportionality, I put a constant, right? I'm sorry, it's T. It's T pi. So pi upon T is equals to constant, right? If you compare this with this Charles law, P is replaced with pi. Pi is your osmotic pressure. This is your gas pressure. So this is your Wendt of Charles law. This is your second equation. This is your first equation. Right? So if I compare these two, right, or if I compare these two, this one and this one, right, combining above laws, we get pi is directly proportional to C, right, and T, right. I remove this sign, pi is equals to RCT. R is your constant, right, which is your solution constant. So in books you will see it written like this, pi is equals to CRT. So pi is equals to CRT, right? And here you can replace C with number of moles. We know that concentration is nothing but number of moles in the given volume of solution, right? So number of moles per liter of solution or number of moles in V liters of solution. This is your concentration. So I can write it like this, pi is equals to, in place of C I can write it N upon V. These are simple formulas that we are aware of. Therefore pi V is equals to nRT, right? N is the number of solute molecules, right? N is the number of solute molecules here. So osmotic pressure, again we see it's directly proportional to the number of solute particles, and osmotic pressure we know is a colligative property, right? So colligative property is directly proportional to N, which is the number of solute particles. So this relation proves that pi, osmotic pressure, is a colligative property, right? From pi is equals to N upon V RT or CRT, right? From here we can see that osmotic pressure is directly related to solute particles, right? So colligative property, we know colligative properties are those properties that depend on the number of solute particles, and here we can easily see that osmotic pressure, which we have to prove that it's a colligative property, so we can easily see that osmotic pressure is directly related to number of solute particles. N is the number of moles of solute particles. So this proves that it's a colligative property, right? And there are some small things that we need to go through. So from here we can see that this Wendt Hoff theory. What is Wendt Hoff theory of dilute solutions? As per Wendt Hoff theory of dilute solutions, the solute particles in this solution behave same as gases, right? Behave same as the gas particles or we say that solute in the solute in the dilute solutions behaves like gas, and osmotic pressure of solution is equal to the pressure which the solute would exert, right, if it were a gas at the same temperature and pressure. So osmotic pressure is, I'm sorry, osmotic pressure here, or we say that this we that the one thing that we have said in the beginning, that the solute particles in the solution behave same as gases, right? So if it were gas, right, in place of this solvent, it would exert the same pressure, right, at the same temperature, right? So this is your Van't Hoff theory of dilute solutions. Right, Van't Hoff theory of dilute solutions, which states that solute particles behave same as gas molecules. This is your Van't Hoff theory of dilute solutions, because solute particles behave as gas molecules. So we have applied Boyle's law and Charles' law here also, and we found that it complied with the Boyle's and Charles' law, and we call it as Van't Hoff Boyle's law. Same as PV is equals to constant, we have pi V is equals to R. Same as P upon T is equals to constant, we have pi upon T is equals to constant. So it follows Boyle's law and Charles' law, same as gases, right? So solute particles behave as gas molecules, right? And these solute particles will exert the same pressure if it were a gas in place of solute particles at the same temperature, right? So now there are some little things. If this is pi is equals to CRT, right, at constant temperature, right, if we take two solutions and separate it with a semi-permeable membrane, right, we have solution 1 and solution 2, right? Say concentration of solution 1 is C1 and concentration of solution 2 is C2, right? So here, if C1 is equals to C2, that is, if concentration of both the solutions separated by a semi-permeable membrane is same, right, that is, we have same number of solute particles in both the solutions, then from here R is constant at constant temperature, pi 1 is equals to pi 2, right? So solutions that have same osmotic pressure, or so solutions that have same concentration will have same osmotic pressure at constant temperature, right? So these solutions that have same concentration, these solutions are known as isotonic solutions, or we call it as, we call these solutions as isotonic solutions. Isotonic solutions that have same concentrations, right? So just imagine one thing, since concentration is same, there is no case of higher and lower concentration, so would there be any net flow of solvent molecules through this semi-permeable membrane? Because we know that the motion of solvent molecules across this semi-permeable membrane was due to difference in concentration of solutions, right? And we know that by now that solvent molecules move from region of lower concentration to a region of higher concentration, right? So the movement was due to difference in concentration. Here there is no difference in concentration, C1 is equals to C2, so there is no net flow of solvent across the semi-permeable membrane. No flow across semi-permeable SPM, let's write it as SPM, across the semi-permeable membrane. Due to similar concentration, there is no net flow of solvent molecules, right, through this semi-permeable membrane, right? Now, since we know that pi is equals to CRT, right? From here, like we have been doing from the beginning, how to find the molecular mass of solute, right? So from this relation also we will try to find the molecular mass of solute, right? We know that pi is equals to CRT, right? And concentration is N upon V, right? So pi is equals to N upon V RT. N is the number of moles, right? And V is your volume, and R is gas constant, and T is your temperature. And we know that N number of moles is equals to weight of solute divided by molecular mass of solute, right? And weight of solute, let's take W, and it's M2. So if I put pi is equals to, in place of N I'll mention W2 upon M2, I'll take this V here. So V is equals to, it's RT, right? This is M2. So this is M2 is the molecular mass of solute, and W is weight of solute added. Knowing the weight of solute added, this is solution constant and this is your temperature, we can calculate and knowing the volume and osmotic pressure, we can find the molecular mass of solute. So molecular mass of solute would be W2 RT divided by pi V, right? This is, using this we can find the molecular mass of solute, right? And it's a colligative property. And one thing again, like we have been doing or before also, this applies to this, since it's a colligative property, right? So this applies to dilute solutions only. Dilute solutions only. This formula applies to dilute solutions only. This relation and this formula applies to dilute solutions only. And second, solutes that does not undergo dissociation or association. That means the experimental solution that we will take should be a non-electrolyte. By saying non-electrolyte is like sugar solution or urea solution that does not undergo dissociation or association in your solution, right? And like sodium chloride will undergo dissociation, so it doesn't apply to sodium chloride solution. Or benzoic acid in benzene will undergo dimerization, the two molecules will combine to form a one bigger molecule, so it doesn't apply to that as well, right? So it applies to solution, the solutes that does not undergo dissociation or association. And the solute should be non-volatile solute, right? So these are the things. There is one more thing, since here there is a term hypertonic solution and hypotonic solution, right? If we have two solutions, right, separated by a semi-permeable membrane, C1 C2, right? If C1 is less than C2, right, then the less concentration, this is concentration. If C1 is less than C2, that means C1 is less concentrated, C2 is more concentrated. So the one which is less concentrated with respect to the other solution is your hypotonic solution. So C1 is your hypotonic solution, and the other solution which is more concentrated with respect to the other solution is your hypertonic solution. So this is your hypertonic solution, right? I hope all this is clear to you. Just remember here important things, that how to derive this relation, right? Pi V is equals to nRT, right? And it obeys the gas laws. The solutions obey gas laws, so we have compared it with Boyle's and Charles' law to reach at this relation. And since osmotic pressure is a colligative property, so we have shown here that osmotic pressure pi is directly proportional to n, which is the number of solute particles or the concentration of solute particles, right? So we have proved that it's a colligative property, and since it's a colligative property, we can, here we have deduced the relation to find the molecular mass of solute, right, in the solution. And in this we have seen that n, right, n in this relation is replaced by your n upon v, right, which is number of moles in given volume of solution, right? So from here we have calculated m2, and it applies to solutes that does not undergo association or dissociation. That means it applies to non-electrolytes like sugar or urea. And solute should be non-volatile, and it applies to dilute solutions only. It doesn't apply to concentrated solution. Why? Because in concentrated solution the solute particles are close to one another, and at one point at higher concentration these solute particles will start interacting with one another, right? And there, when there are solute interactions, we have to consider those solute interactions as well. So instead of concentrated solutions, we take dilute solutions, right? I hope all this is clear to you. Thanks.